Lord of all beings,
Lord of
Lord of
all
all
beings,
beings,
God of gods,
God of
God of
God,
gods,
Lord of the universe.
Lord
Lord
of the
of the
universe,
universe,
Lord of all beings. Hmm. Purport. The Supreme Lord Krishna can be known by persons who are in relationship with him to the discharge of devotional service, like Arjuna and his followers. Persons of demoniac or atheistic mentality cannot know Krishna. Mental speculation that leads one away from the Supreme Lord is a serious sin, and one who does not know Krishna should not try to comment on Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a statement of Krishna, and since it is a science of Krishna, it should be understood from Krishna as Arjuna understood it. It should not be received from atheistic persons, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 11th verse. Vadanti tattva tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaneti sabdyate. The supreme truth is realized in three aspects as the impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and at last as the supreme personality of Godhead. So, at the last stage of understanding the absolute truth, one comes to the supreme personality of Godhead. A common man, or even a liberated man, who has realized impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, may not understand God's personality. Such men, therefore, may endeavor to understand the Supreme Person from the verses of Bhagavad Gita, which are spoken by this person, Krishna. Sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagwan, or they accept his authority. Yet many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottam, the Supreme Person. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Purushottama. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the father of all living entities. Still one may not know him as a supreme controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhuteshaha. No, sorry. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the father of all living entities. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Bhuta Bhavana. And if one comes to know him as the father of all the living entities, still one may not know him as a supreme controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the supreme controller of everyone. And even if one knows him as the Krishna as the supreme controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. Therefore, he is addressed here as Deva Deva, the worshipful god of all demigods. And even if one knows him as the worshipful god of all demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore, he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna, and we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna. And we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. Om Agnanatimindasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshunmitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dagati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sijuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sagana Raghunathavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paryana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishimano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhayo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Swayam evatmanatmanam vetatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhuteshah deva deva jagatpatehe. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency. O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Yeah. So here we see Lord Krishna. No, means, just after he describes the Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita from 8th verse of this chapter to the 11th verse, 8, 9, 10, only have 11th verse of the chapter. And then Arjuna accepts Krishna's position after hearing from Krishna the Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita. And he requests the Supreme Lord to hear more of his opulences. That please describe more of your own opulence. Right. And then we see in this particular section, from this verse to the 19th verse, and these 5 verses, Arjuna is asking Krishna to tell him more of his glories. That is, pastimes can be understood only by him. Right. One can know him completely only by his own internal potency. One cannot know the Supreme Lord by philosophical speculation. A foolish person, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Prabhupada, a foolish person may try to know the Supreme Lord by philosophical speculation, but it is impossible to know the Supreme Lord by philosophical speculation. Right? Atase Krishna namani na bhavet graham indriya. By our blunt material senses, we cannot know the Supreme Lord. It is not possible to know the Supreme Lord by our blunt material senses. Only by his internal potency, we can understand the Supreme Lord. That's why it can be understood through Arjuna or his sincere followers. Right? Because they are his devotees. Bhakto asime sakha cheti. Right? The only way one can understand the Supreme Lord is by devotional service. Right? We cannot understand the Supreme Lord by mental speculation. And Srila Prabhupada quotes the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, how Lord can be realized into three phases, three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Right? Those are the three tattvas. Vadanti tat tattva vidat tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaneti sabjate.
हम आ गए या सेक दो
Haribol, we can mute. Right. So it can be realized the all-pervasive aspect, Brahman, the Jnana yogis come to that realization that Lord is pervading everywhere through the mental speculation. The Ashtanga yogis, by eightfold mystic yoga practices, the perfection of that, they understand the Lord is present within each and everyone's heart, right? As localized Paramatma. That's the perfection of Ashtanga yogi. Well, a Bhakti yogi understands the Supreme Lord in his full form as Bhagavan, right? Where the all-pervasive aspect is also there, the localized aspect is also there, but beyond the localized aspect, there's the Supreme Controller, Bhagavan. Right. So he can be understood by his devotees. Right. And then through his realization, through the realization of Arjuna, he is explaining the truth about Krishna, that the Lord is Purushottama, right? He is a supreme person. He is a supreme person. Purushottama, supreme person, right? Like we were talking about this Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. The Bhagwan, supreme person, filled in six kinds of opulences, full of strength, full of fame, right? Full of wealth. Aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarvam pravartate. He is the source of all material worlds and spiritual worlds. It's full of wealth, full of renunciation, full of knowledge, right? Full of beauty. So, these six kinds of opulences is completely present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama. That's why he addresses Krishna that he is Purushottama, right? And those who cannot understand him as Purushottama, so he addresses him as Purushottama. Then we see, they cannot understand him as that is the father of all living entities. He's addressing him as Bhuta Bhavana. Bhuta Bhavana means he's the father of all the living entities. Right. Sarva yonishu konteya murtya sambhavanti yatasam brahma madhyoni aham bija pradapita. Right. He's the father of all living entities. So he is addressing him as Bhuta Bhavana. And those who would accept him as Bhuta Bhavana but would not know him as the Supreme Controller, then he's addressing him as Bhutesha. That was the Lord is also Bhutesha, the Supreme Controller. Right. He's a Supreme Controller. The entire world. All the three worlds are controlled by him. All the planets are being held in position by him. Rasoham Sukham Surya Prabhasmi Sasya Surya is the light of the sun and the moon. Right. In his planet, there is no need of sun and moon. In Vaikuntha, there is no need of sun and moon. Just by the glowing effulgence of his body, he provides that light. Right. So we see he is the supreme controller of all living entities. And those who do not know him, that he is the God of even the gods, he is addressing him as Deva Deva, the original and worshipable God of all gods. That even the demigods worship him. Right. The reason why they are called demigods is because they receive that potency, they receive that empowerment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord. Just like a minister receives his portfolio by the Prime Minister. Similarly, the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna has all these different ministers who help him to run the universal affairs. Right. And beyond that, those who do not know that he is the Supreme Proprietor, he even addresses Krishna as Jagatpate. Right. There is a Jagatpati, the proprietor of the entire universe. Right. Just in the Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita again, we heard about he is the source of all the material and the spiritual worlds. So if he is the source, who is the proprietor? He is the proprietor, he is the owner, he is the controller. Right. And if he is the proprietor, he is the owner, he is the controller, then who is the enjoyer? He is the enjoyer, supreme enjoyer. Right. He is the supreme enjoyer. Right. So by these various ways, Arjuna is reflecting on his realization of the Supreme Lord. After hearing the Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita from him, and hearing a little bit about his opulences, he is mentioning him with all these different names that, oh, you are Purushottama, you are the Bhuta Bhavana, the father of all living entities. You are Bhutesha, you are the supreme controller. You are Jagatpate, right? No, Deva Deva, the God of all gods. And you are Jagatpate, the supreme proprietor. Right? In that way, he glorifies the Supreme Lord, Krishna, after realizing, and then he's describing, asking him to describe more about his opulences. And we see in the remainder of the chapter, Lord Krishna is describing, hearing Arjuna's request and describing about his different opulences in quite detail. Okay. Are there any questions? Discussions or realizations on these wonderful words where Arjuna is describing Lord Krishna with all these different names.
Prabhuji, just a comment, Prabhuji.
Yes.
It's an awesome class, and the way you presented it is really very nice. With how Arjuna is, giving the various names for the Lord here, with giving how he can be understood in the right mood. Thank you for explaining it in a very beautiful way, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shankarshan Prabhu. So nice to hear your voice.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. A comment and a question. So the first comment is what you had just said about controller, proprietor, enjoyer. Many years back, Dhanurdhar Maharaj had in one of his class, he had mentioned that Krishna is the source of everything. So he is the proprietor of everything, supreme proprietor. And because he is the supreme proprietor, he has full control over everything. So he is the supreme controller. And a person, so Maharaj said, just think about it, a person who's the source of everything, who's the supreme proprietor, who's the supreme controller. There's nothing else left for him to do but enjoy. So he is the supreme enjoyer. And he gave the example that all of us also have little bit of control. We have little bit of. So when we have control, when we have ownership, there is some sort of little bit of enjoyment that we get. But with Krishna, because he is the supreme proprietor, the supreme controller, that's how he is the supreme enjoyer. So after so many years, last today you were mentioning this. Now my question is, when you read Srila Prabhupada's purport, that those who do not know Krishna should not comment on Bhagavad Gita. So we also hear in class, Prabhu, that Ananta Sesha, with his millions of mouths, he's still trying to catch up with the glories of Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna is still unknowable. He's way ahead. So when we, either while giving the seva of class or while talking to newcomers about Krishna and Gita, I mean, at least what do I know about Krishna? Hardly, little bit here and there. So what is that context of people who don't know Krishna should not comment on Bhagavad Gita?
Not comment on Krishna. What it means, the context is here is what we are trying to do, we are just trying to present as it is, what we hear from Bhagavad Gita. We're not trying to comment on Krishna. We're trying to just present as it is. Comment on Krishna, the context, what Srila Prabhupada means that where without knowing about Krishna, I just comment, oh, he's just a nefarious boy, no, which is no, he has no moral principles. And I just try to comment no, something or the other about Krishna. There is no Supreme Lord. Like, you know, means we hear Prabhupada becoming so furious when he will hear the commentary on that Manmana Bhava Mat Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru, where Lord Krishna is so clearly mentioning, worship me. Again, Manmana Bhava Mat Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Bow down to me. Offer obeisances to me. And a commentator commenting on it, if he says, do not worship him, but worship that which is within him. Now he's commenting on something what Krishna said, not presenting as it is of Krishna, but commenting on something what Krishna said. Right. Or Krishna is mentioning about, you know, right on the middle of the battlefield. Now, in the first chapter, we see the introduction, right, where now on one side there are all these different warriors present. On our side there are these warriors present, and then everybody is blowing their conch. And then Arjuna is telling Krishna that, oh, Achyuta, take my chariot in the middle of the battlefield. And a commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, if he comments without knowing Krishna, that, oh, if that battlefield happened, then Krishna is not my Lord. Right. Just because he had non-violence inclination in his mind, he's just commenting on Krishna like that, without knowing Krishna. And that's where Srila Prabhupada very nicely mentions, one cannot comment on Krishna without knowing him. Without knowing him. So when you mention about Ananta Shesha, what it means is, yes, Manushya Nam Sahasrashu, Kashinatati Siddhe, in the 7th chapter, there's this words, like, out of many thousands of people, one endeavor for perfection. Out of many thousands of people who endeavor for perfection, hardly one person knows me in truth. Right. And then his limitless pastimes are mentioned, that Ananta Shesha, even with his millions of hoods, cannot completely glorify the unfathomable Supreme Lord. That does not mean that he does not know anything about the Supreme Lord, but it kind of portrays that the Lord's pastimes are so just like you cannot count the number of waves in the ocean. You won't be able to count the number of pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Right. So that's where that reference context comes of Ananta Shesha not completely be able to glorify the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, because they are unlimited. Right? They are unlimited. So what to speak of us? We would just be able to hear some pastime or the other from bona fide acharyas from Srimad Bhagavatam, who also present it as it is, as what they have heard. Right. But we won't comment on it. Oh, no, all this are fiction. Or if we lifted Govardhan, then the Govardhan must be like a small table. Even in his present situation, Govardhan is Govardhan Parikrama is 21 kilometers or so long. Even in his present state, where it is shrinking day by day. But a commentator, because they cannot, because they have not known Krishna and they're not performing bhakti, by mental speculation, they'll just think like a Dr. Frog. Right. He has never seen the Atlantic Ocean. So how big is the Atlantic Ocean? Oh, this big, this big. You won't be able to completely fathom it. Is that all right, Amitabh?
Yeah, Prabhu, very good. If I can follow up.
Yeah.
So when that Prabhupada's purport says comment is basically don't put your own concoction and speculation.
Yes.
As it is. So that is understood fine as it is, because it's coming from disciplic succession, which is directly coming from Krishna.
Yeah.
So it's Krishna himself who's saying whatever it is.
Yeah.
So Prabhu, we read in Bhagavatam, especially after Prabhupada, departed, then his disciples, they continued writing.
Yeah.
They refer to a lot of Prabhupada's purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita here, there, whatever. And they also other acharyas. Now, even Srila Prabhupada in his comment in his purports refers a lot to Srila Chakravarti,
Vishwanath Chakravarti,
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Baldev Vidyabhushan and all that.
So their commentaries. Now, like in Bhagavatam, there will be given a certain translation, and then it is explained. But then there is a further thought or a further explanation of Vishwanath Chakravarti Maharaj's, which is not there in that at all if you just read it. So Prabhupada says Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary, and it is like this, and Krishna would have done like this, and the gopis did like this. So, of course, he's an acharya, but it's nowhere before was this. So how does this work? Is it that they're having some kind of a divine revelation or?
Yeah, very good question. So that's called Tika commentary. Just like each and every words, I have some books from Srimad Bhagavatam where for each somehow it's written in Rajvasi language. So I myself have to learn that Rajvasi language to understand that entire commentary of Bhagavatam. But each and every words of that Bhagavatam, and each and every verse of that Bhagavatam, there are 10 tikas. There are 10 commentaries on that one verse. Tika by Jiva Goswami, Tika by Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad, Tika by Siddha Swami, and there's different numbers. So for each and every verse, there are different tikas. So, where does that come from? Is that there, just like here, Arjuna is mentioning about his realization, right? Or when we refer to these words, or we go through it, words of Bhagavad Gita, we say, "Oh, will anybody would like to share the realization pertaining to that words?" So they may have heard, "Oh, this is the father of all living entities," and then some realization of the father of all living entities comes to them, and especially that realization which they share as devotional context, not like a mental speculation. It's a realization which is coming to the heart. Devotionally, that realization is coming to the heart. Right. So they are not speculating, it could be like this, it could be like this. Right. Just like a word of, in Sanskrit also, a word can mean different things. Like that Atmanam verse is there, right? Where we hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya starts explaining about that words. And now he explains it in 10 different commentary on that, or something like that. And then we see Mahaprabhu does not even touch any of the commentary, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, Chandra, did you understand what I said? I said, yeah, I understood, but not the way it's explained. And then he kind of found where things were missing, and then he commented on Atmanam verse in 36 different ways, not even touching one time to what any of those 10 ways which Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya described. Right. So same words can be looked at in 36 different ways. Devotional, again, when you talk about ways that devotional ways that can be looked at. Right. Not like directly attacking on, no, not to Krishna, but that which is within Krishna. That means you differentiate that Krishna is just an ordinary human being. And that which is within Krishna is that soul, super soul, which we are not known. So it's infinite, it's impersonal.
So, Prabhu, what you're saying, I understand. So, when all these great personalities,
Mhm.
when they have their realization, and especially Vishwanath Chakravarti, when he has made these, and of Krishna and the gopis pastime, um, is 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 he having some kind of a divine vision that he's participating in the Leela, or he can see it happening, or
Mhm. Yeah, good. Like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, that I'm sitting down to write this Chaitanya Chaitamrita, but
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Chaitanya Chaitamrita. And it's not me writing. This writing is of Madan Mohan. Right. So they just surrender to the Supreme Lord. And through them, just like many days, during even Srila Prabhupada's time, many times, disciples, Srila Prabhupada will tell them to give a lecture. They won't say, Prabhupada, I didn't prepare. No, I had to make Papa. I had to make this, I had to make that. I didn't prepare. Right. But that's why we said, Om Agnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya. We are just born in ignorance. Somehow or other, mercy comes from you, the spiritual master. Right? So when they give lecture, they may not have heard about that lecture, may not have prepared anything about that lecture, but by them sitting on the Vyasasan and submitting themselves to the spiritual master speaks to them.
Mm.
Right? The spiritual master speaks to them. And that's no, yes, no, what is that? Yashadeva Parabhakti, Tata Deva, Yashadeva Parabhakti. What is that, Simeshavu? Yashadeva Parabhakti, Yata Deva Tata Guru, Tasyati Katita Artha Prakashante Mahatmana. One who has implicit faith in Guru and Krishna, to him automatically all the purports of the Vedic literature are revealed to him. He does not have to separately endeavor to read all this Vedic literature. They are automatically revealed to him. Right. So it becomes on the inconceivable realm that we won't be, how does just like the goddess of learning, even like pandits, this Kashmiri pandit or this or that, they were able to describe the glories of the Ganges in so many flowery ways. Words after words, words after words. Right. And we see, the Supreme Lord himself, Mahaprabhu, where is able to figure out that, you described in so many different ways, glorious, but somewhere along here, There was some grammatical glitch. Right. So, it's at the end of the day, the mercy comes from the Supreme Lord, and that mercy is carried just like the reservoir of this example of the reservoir of this energy, electric house, from where all this electricity is generated. How is that electricity passed from that electric house? Through these conduits, right? The wires. They are held by different poles, which are our acharyas. Then those wires ultimately come through electrical wiring. It is connected to our socket in the house, and in that socket, we need to plug to get that electric energy. So similarly, when we plug ourselves to this disciplic succession, coming all the way from Lord Krishna to Brahma to Narad Muni to Vyasdev, right? All the electric energy, the spiritual energy diffuses to them and it descends to them. And we just submit that, personally, I have no qualification, I'm just a puppet. Oh, dear spiritual master, just do whatever you want to do. Right. So when we completely submit that mood, then somehow, a layman can also is able to, cross mountains, right? And person who is not able to speak is able to glorify volumes and volumes. Oh, where was I reading today? Somewhere where I was reading. In one of the slides which I was going to, where how this mercy, means we don't make discrimination of people come. There was this homeless person who just walked in the temple years back, and this nice brahmachari of the temple just greeted him nicely, made him comfortable, did not make judgment on him, made him comfortable, got him prasad, this, that, and he became attracted, came again and again. And he groomed him, the brahmachari groomed him. And later on, that homeless person who walked in, with all the love and care which he was given, and this wonderful prasad which was given, he became the head pujari of our biggest temple here, Shishi Rukmani Dwakadish in California. LA. Right. Ramdas Prabhu. Yeah, so we have so many glowing examples like that, almost how they got the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So things work on mercy, not by our own endeavor. And the devotees of the Supreme Lord carry out this mercy. We're just hearing about Ukraine and this devotees. Maravi, Rakovi, Joy Chatumar, they just carry out the mercy. Everybody is taking shelter. I was hearing Niranjan Maharaj speaking about it, and I said, the attendance in Mangala Aarti is multiplied tenfold now in the temple. Everybody does not even want to go back. They just want to stay in the temple. And the brahmacharis of the temple are just serving the grihasthas who were otherwise staying outside and involved with so many other things. Taking full shelter of the Supreme Lord, not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow. And that's the mood in which, right now it's Ukraine, but it's for all of us. We don't know what's going to happen the next moment. They're practically experiencing it, but we are also practically, last 2 years we have been experiencing this pandemic and endemic and this and that. So at the end of the day, more and more we learn to just take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Right. But it is. Is it all right?
Yes, Prabhu. Very nice. Thanks. Thank you.
Hari. 801. Maheshwar Prabhu, I submit to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. It's wonderful discussion, a wonderful topic. Yes, this is absolute. This is what is we need to hear. How do we realize, understand the Supreme? Each and every word is, it's like he says that it's like, transcendental sound, like a Chindamani, can give us a lot. Thank you so much for joining. Anybody else? Anything else want to, discuss?
Yeah, we have some more time. Hari Bol.
Yeah, some more time. Yes, as always usual.
Any more discussion?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question. I was actually looking at one of the videos shared in our group where back in olden times in Russia when this movement started, right, our Hare Krishna movement, and then it was a big opposition. And the two guys who actually decided to spread the name of Krishna there, and they were brutally tormented, and they were kind of put in prison, and I think and no vegetarian food was given to them in prison. They ate stale bread, and finally one of them died there. So, it was very heartbreaking to kind of listen to that news. I didn't know about it. It was first time I was hearing that. And this actually made me think that, why didn't Krishna help them? Why didn't Krishna save them? Krishna came to save Prahlad Maharaj. Krishna came every time Krishna comes to save. They were they were in extreme situation, and they were doing that because they had faith in Krishna. What extreme could they experience? If Krishna didn't came to save them, how can we expect Krishna to come here and save us from whatever? We take stand. Within our own homes also, right? We take stand. So, what hope should we have looking at that video? I was kind of thinking about it. So, that's why I'm asking this question, Prabhuji.
No, very good. Very nice. Yeah. So when we submit to the Supreme Lord, we submit in that mood. Marabi rakhobi jo ichha tumhar. Right. If you want to protect me, fine. If you want to take me, it's up to you. So while it takes him, in that also we should see the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Right? We see Srila Prabhupada's struggle in spreading Krishna consciousness. He, while doing his business, he wanted to be the wealthiest businessman so that he can support to the proceeds of his business, his spiritual master's mission. Right. And when he started seeing reversals in the business, in that also he saw the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Right. So we should see the mercy of the Supreme Lord at each and every moment. Even when, just like we see in our own Bhakti Charan Maharaj, when he came here and contracted COVID, and the whole world of devotees were praying that he recovers from that. And then finally, he left us. So the question could come, though, why Krishna did not protect him? Right. But those are preordained. Like, if you hear Bhakti Charan Maharaj's lectures, even before that, he kind of mentioned that entire sequence of the things, that how things could span out, how people can leave the body, like the way he kind of left. Right. So, and when I was hearing from Prana Govinda Prabhu, where he conveyed to Bhakti Charan Maharaj in the hospital that the whole world is chanting for your recovery, and Maharaj was just shaking his head. Maharaj was shaking his head. When time comes, be prepared. If we have to live, we have to live. So, in that example of the salted bread, these two devotees, in a devotee is living also, Krishna will glorify him, and in devotees staying back and then propagating Krishna consciousness, also Krishna will glorify him. Right? Like you mentioned, the two devotees, and both are glorified equally. That they completely submitted it to the Supreme Lord. No matter what difficulties may come to them. Like one of them gave a lecture, I was told last Wednesday, and the Bergen Zoom channel, the Salted Bread author. And you could see the turmoil which he, even thinking about the situation which he went through, his hairs will stand on end or something, that how terrible the situations were. The torture and the abuse and this, whatever they went through. Right. We see here about the Pandavas, they're thinking about it. They're just devotees of the Supreme Lord, just submitting to the Supreme Lord. Why they have to go through so many reversals? One time we think, okay, now everything will be all right. They were given this Indraprastha barren land, and they create from that they created this nice kingdom, and now everything will be all right. And the moment you think that everything will be all right, that also was taken away from them. Right. But through those examples also, they are glorified. That everything was taken away from them, but they kept Krishna always in the center of the life. So much so that after everything came back to them, they won Mahabharat battle, though they selected Krishna, who was not going to take any weapons in the battlefield. Still, they selected him, and not like Duryodhan, who said, oh, okay, what am I going to do with Krishna? He's not going to take any weapons. So what is the need of Krishna? I want the 10,000 soldiers who are so powerful on my side. And Arjuna is so fool that no one does not realize that. Right. And we see that no, even with less manpower and less resources, they win the battlefield, and then what does Mother Kunti pray for? Oh Lord, give us some more miseries, because at each and every moment that those miseries came, we submitted to you and you were there to protect us. Like, we go to a resort place and suddenly that resort place gets into fire and we have nowhere to go. Right? Like the burning of the palace of Lac. So no, and the trials and tribulations in the life of a devotee are much more than a materialist. But through those trials and tribulations, a devotee is glorified because he is always taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, even though. And Lord says to Uddhavji, to whom I give them the utmost mercy, I take away everything from them. No, it's like you take away everything from them, and now we start sketching. Oh, am I ready to give away everything? But he tells that to Uddhavji in 11th canto. To whom I give maximum mercy, I take away everything from them. And we chant Hari Bol. What does Hari Bol mean? That Lord, take away whatever I have. Right. So that's where whether a person lives or in that situation also is glorified. Their living is also so auspicious, and that's why it's mentioned that a Vaishnava never lives by their life example, right? By the instructions, by what do they speak? Their sound which they have left behind, they always live, but they never leave the body. In one sense, they never die. They always live. Is that okay, Shweta Mataji? Shweta Mataji, is that all right? Oh, okay. He just sent message in the chat. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hari Bol.
Very bold. Yeah. Wonderful. So that's the thing. Then thank you, Madhupati Prabhuji. If there is nothing else, let's continue our Purusha with Tulasi Puja. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining today. This is
Hare Krishna.
wonderful because of it says that sadhu sangha sarva shastra kai lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Even a moment of association of devotees that it transforms us, and it's eventually get all the siddhi at the end Krishna. Nothing more than that. So always look for these opportunities and attend as much as we can. So this is the only perfect and absolute thing in this world. Everything else is just a big zero in whichever way we look at it. This is eternal. It's always there in our account. A moment of association, moment of remembrance, moment of chanting, So thank you so much, and